So continuing to discuss perspective, in this little village scene here, let's see what's happening with the perspective. This is actually mostly a one-point perspective, because if I take the edges of the balcony, the roof, and the street back here, you'll find that they meet right there, which, by the way, is on the eye level of these people. Approximately. So this point will also work for the roofs and the windows on the other side of the street, and the base where the wall meets the street down here. So we have a single point that works for almost everything in here. This wall at the back is coming horizontally across, just like it was the back wall of a room. This is just straight horizontals with verticals at the ends here. A couple of things about this is this sort of composition, it's a certain kind of composition formula called room. Zoom out a little bit here. It's called room portal vista. Vista is a scene from a distance. So what's going on is we have a space in which the viewer is standing or could be standing in a step or two. The space is described by these two side walls and this end wall here. Then we have a portal, an opening in the end wall. In this case, it's an archway, an opening. And then out through the opening, we have a vista. We see through the opening, we also see at the top here, this is a kind of part of the portal, this opening to the sky. So you see through that end wall. So this is a very old, very frequently used compositional formula. There are many, but that's certainly one of them. Room, portal, and vista. So that's one thing I notice about this. The other thing that I notice is that we're not looking down at these people. We're actually kind of looking straight ahead at them. So this is a clothesline situation for the horizon. The horizon is at the eye level of these people and of the viewer. A third thing is that we have something over here which we call an inclined plane. See, any stairs are always inclined. They're basically ramps with teeth. So the way this stair works, if I took a line vertically through that vanishing point that I was talking about right there, and I took one side of the stairs up until it hit that line, I create a point, and that point will work for the other side of the stairs. It's because the stairs are getting bigger as they come forward. Okay, so let's draw through this and see how it's constructed. So first of all, here's a horizon line. Then make it horizontal here. Looks sort of crooked there. Just a minute. Here we go. Let's zoom out a little further. There. So there's our horizon. Now I'm going to draw the back wall of this little urban room. So I'm going to come up vertically here and here. Now I want to do a clothesline situation, so that means that if I were to draw a person here someplace, I would have the head, the torso, and the legs. There's a little person standing right there. Now that means that this is the ground on which they stand. So now how high should the wall of that little defensive wall of the old city be? How many people would stand on each other's heads to get to the top of that wall? So let's say that it was, the wall was, I don't know, say 40 feet high. So let's say the person was only 5 feet high. You know. So that means 8 people. 8 times 5 is 40. So I need 1 person, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 30 feet high. And guess what? That's all I want to do, 30 feet high. So this wall will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people high. That's 30 feet. So then I'm going to draw across the top here and down. So according to the height of this person, I have a wall that's about 30 feet high. So relating it to something that you know the scale of is a useful thing. That's only if the person was standing with their nose against the wall. Okay, so I'm going to put a vanishing point somewhere here. I'm going to put it slightly off center, maybe about here. And then I'm going to use the sides of this wall to come forward, here and here, and here, and here. I might not use all of those lines, so I haven't totally darkened them in yet. But now I have a room in 1-point perspective. So let's start playing with the walls of this room. So over here, I'm going to pull this wall back a little bit from that wall. So I'm going to draw a vertical line right here, just lightly. We'll darken the lines that matter to us later. Now that would mean that I could take that, and maybe pull this one back also. So I'm pulling those walls back. That would mean that this end wall could keep going here and here behind these buildings. So I can keep it going back that way. On this side, I'm going to put a second level, so I use this vanishing point to come up here. And I'm going to put a staircase out here to get up to that second level. So I'm going to make a little, I'm going to go sideways here, and then down to the vanishing point, and sideways here. So that's a little platform up at that second level. Do you want me to pause so you can catch up with me, or what are we doing? I can pause.
You're looking at the underside of the platform.
The underside of a platform.
Okay, got it.
In fact, because this is in an old town, they wouldn't really do a platform like that necessarily. They would build out to it like this. They would come down here and here, come straight horizontally, and then back there. So they've built a platform by creating a block of the building coming out from the wall, see? So that's a block coming out. So I just took the underside of the platform, brought it down, and supported it with material down here, see? So it's like a block. Okay, I want to have the foot of a staircase to get up there. I want it to be out about this far. So I make a horizontal line there. So I want to go from here up to there on a staircase. So what I do is this. I draw a line from here to there against the building. Every time you have an inclined plane, you have what's called a trace line, which is above or below the vanishing point. So I'm going to go up like this. It's just a construction line. I take the line that I put against the building and extend it until it hits that construction line, and that's called an inclined plane vanishing point. Or you just shorten it to IPVP. So I drew one angle, which is my decision. Aesthetically, I want to see that angle. You continue it until it crosses this line, right above the vanishing point. Now I can draw the other side of the stairs using this point. So I take a line from here through the corner of that platform and keep going down to here. And you notice that that has made the ramp line, these are, it's like a ramp, it's made it wider here than it did there because it's coming from that vanishing point. And by the way, if I took the foot of this, if I had drawn it accurately and went to my horizon vanishing point, see right here, it would actually line up with the bottom of that block. So I could actually shade all this in, shade all that in, and it's like a kind of a wedge-shaped doorstop or something, like a giant doorstop. The bottom goes to this vanishing point, as does the top edge, and this sloping plane goes to a sloping vanishing point up here. So of course that's a ramp. It doesn't have steps on it. So what we do is we need to draw a sawtooth on the edge here to create steps. So we go a lot of different ways of doing this. I mean, if I did it really officially, I would maybe use a different method, but what you could do is come from this corner, from this vanishing point, from that inside corner, come forward with a line from that vanishing point. And then you can come from the foot up here. I can divide this into the number of steps that I want. Let's say that I want 12 steps to get up there. So you divide this in half, that makes 6 and 6. You divide that in half, that makes 3, 3, 3, 3, and you divide this into thirds. So now I have 12 increments. I bring these back to this vanishing point until they cross the ramp line, like this. Start going up once they get below the horizon, like that. Your head hurting yet?
My brain is full.
Okay, so what that has done is it has brought these, which are equal increments, against the ramp, which is now unequal. See, they're getting tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So now we draw the sawtooth. So we go up and across, up and across, up, and when I go across, I go to this vanishing point, up and across, up and across, up and across. So they're getting smaller and smaller. And in fact, I would have done this just by eye, knowing that they get smaller. But this is how you would actually work it out if you had to do it perfectly, is by using that little offset method there. Because you see, you can measure things vertically in a perspective, but you can't measure things that are going away from you very easily. You have to use a vertical thing and a little geometric trick in order to get that vertical thing to be measured going away from you. So I have all of this stuff on my website.
But when you're above your horizon.
Yes.
And you're going, okay, so the stairs below the horizon are going to that point.
Yep. Also the ones above. The treads. These are all the treads.
Right, but that means that.
What that means is,
How would
look.
you see the top of the?
the treads. How would you see the treads? The top of the steps.
Yeah, you would.
So you do see them when they're below your eye level. See, they're below your eye level. You're looking down at these.
Yeah.
You're looking up at the others, see? So what happens is these become, all you do is bring these lines across here. See, look, watch. Straight across, straight across, straight across, straight across. And now you don't see the treads anymore because they're at your eye level. You're looking up at them. Once you make the eye level, you don't see the tread. You see the fronts of the steps.
Yeah.
So now once this came up here, I go to the vanishing point. Then I go up. I go to the vanishing point. Then I go up to the vanishing point, up. Basically, I'm redrawing this sawtooth along this edge. So basically I drew a sawtooth on one side and I dragged it across to the other side. Now, did I really do that? No. I just know that that's how it works. And so when I drew it, I did it essentially this way. I'll do it again over here. I had the two sides of my ramp like that, just like I have over here. And I drew the ramp lines and the building. You know, the building was doing its thing like that. So all I did was I made a sawtooth like this, getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And then I drew the same sawtooth over here, getting smaller and 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 smaller. And I only took note of the ones that were below the horizon because somebody would count those. If I had 6 here and only 3 there, it would look ridiculous. So I made sure I had the same number here as I had here. And then I just went horizontally, that's all. And got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So at some point they weren't even hitting each other, but the idea was there, you see. And so you read those as steps. So here you can see the tops of the steps.
So you're just drawing in a double line to make it
Yeah,
look like the top?
and I shaded. See, I shade the front. And then all these are shaded, but I left a little light edge there to give you the feeling there was a little shine on the step. So I shaded the front. So if I looked at a step really big, it looks like this. So I shaded this part. Shade the verticals. That's typically what you do. When they go above your eye level, you don't see the treads anymore, but I still left a little sliver of light there. See, a little tiny sliver of light at the top edges. It's like the corner is rounded and somehow you're getting a feel that there's edges or corners. So anyway, I didn't count these, but if you look at these quickly, you think it's the same as that. But I didn't count these at all. The only ones I counted were the ones below the horizon because I figured that's where the error would really show up, is those few steps at the bottom. So if I had 4 here, I had 4 there, right? Okay, we're back to this now. So there is a way of working this out. That's the way of working it out. But practically speaking, I'm painting a little scene. I don't really care. I just want to have fun painting the scene. Then I do it this way. I just draw a sawtooth, sawtooth. But I do this. I do understand how the ramp lines go to a vanishing point. Okay, once I have that, let's just look what happens in the rest of the scene. So over here now, I'm going to have, what am I going to have? I'm going to have 3 stories. So I marked this into thirds here. 3 stories. So 1 story, 2 story, 3 stories. So I got 3 stories. And why did I do that? Because what I want to do is put windows in. So up here, I'm going to draw the roof of a penthouse. So I come like that. So this is where Don Alfonso and his family live, on the top floor. So I need a column to hold that up, and another column, and maybe another column. They're holding up a little roof, like a porch roof. This is the porch. So then I'm going to eventually, using this vanishing point, have a balcony railing. I'm going to have a window box with plants. I'm going to have little rails, and then it's going to go back on the other side. So that's my first building. The next building is going to be here, and it's going to go even higher. So now I'm going to put in some windows. So I'm going to line them up above and below, then put the headers and the sills, and the headers and the sills in all these windows. Then it's just a matter of what's the design of the windows. Do they have little arch tops or whatever they might have? Over here I'm going to have a balcony. So the balcony, I'm going to come over, actually I'm going to have a big doorway. I've kind of messed up my drawing here by having that staircase, but this will be a surrealist drawing. So I'm going to have a big archway here that comes up, giant archway, and a big thickness here, ancient doorway there, and then a door. There's the door. Pardon? And it's going to have a floating stair. It's a ghost town. Don't worry about the stair. I could continue to stare down here if that makes you feel more at ease here. It can go across like this. Like that. How's that? Have the stair going through the archway. MC Escher rides again. Anyway, just getting back to our original story plot line here. So then above this, I'm going to have a balcony. So I find the place where the balcony would leave the building, and then I go horizontally here, and I create a box that is coming out from the building, like that. That's the underneath of the box. The box will have balcony rails on it. So that's a part of a box also. It just happens to be a part that has wrought iron on it. Now in old places like that, they couldn't stick a balcony like that out because they didn't have reinforced concrete and structural steel. What they would have to do is put brackets to hold up the balcony. So that's what I did here. I create the heads of some brackets and then just took the brackets down like that against the wall. Right? So that's what we have in this picture. See, these brackets are holding the balcony up there. Okay, so the rest of this is, some extra windows, and I have a roof that sticks out, and the roof will have some brackets here. That's the edge of the roof, and there we go. The other side, just to move quickly here, I'm going to have, again, maybe just 2 stories here. So I just divide that roughly in half, and then I'm going to have a window up here, going to the vanishing point, and then a window here, level with that one, and then down below another window or a doorway, and just put a big arch in it, not as big as this one.
How do
Now,
you get the angle of the arch?
the angle of the arch. The arch is an ellipse that sits inside a square. So first thing you do is draw a rectangle. You find the center of it, just optically, and then you draw an ellipse, but you're only interested in the top half of the ellipse. So in my head, I draw the whole rectangle because I've drawn them enough times. See, if I want to, let's say that I fall off the edge here. I've got a handrail to keep you from falling off the edge, but somehow this is going down into a courtyard. Oops, should go straight across here. There's a courtyard down here, okay? And I want to draw another door down there with an ellipse in it. So I draw the rectangle, I draw the sides of it. So now I have a rectangle here. And then I draw an ellipse, a complete ellipse inside there. But I'm only interested in the top half. The top half makes an arch, and I can give it a thickness like that. So that's ellipses. If I want a fountain in the middle of this place here, I draw a rectangle first, like this, a perspective rectangle. In this case, a square. I'm going to say that's what a square would look like if it was sitting on the street. So in that square, I draw crosses from diagonals. That will find the center, even of a square in perspective. Then I draw from this vanishing point, and through that middle I draw another cross here. And then I draw my ellipse inside there, like that. So the way to draw an ellipse anyplace, like way up in the sky here, you draw the vertical sides. You come up here from the vanishing point, you draw those sides, you draw an X, vertical, horizontal, and you put the ellipse up there. So that if you wanted an archway, all you do is take the top half of that ellipse and draw straight down and go to the vanishing point. So now we have a doorway in the sky with an elliptical or an arched top to it. See? I could draw a hatch in the sky by going up here and here, straight across, draw an X through it, find the true middle, and then draw an ellipse up there, like a manhole in the sky.
Inception.
Yep. Do you have a question? Pardon?
Inception.
Which movie?
Inception.
Oh, Conception.
Inception.
Inception.
Yeah,
Yeah, right. Yeah, sure. So here, all I have to do is lift this up vertically. Up here, I could draw another square and so on. I'm not going to bother. I draw another ellipse up here. I could do it square up there, do the whole thing. There's my ellipse up here. Then I connect the two centers like this. So it's like a wagon wheel sitting on its side. I'm looking up at that one because my head's below it. And then I find the middle and I come through it like this. And then I fill this with sand. I have it dripping through here. Then I have a cone of sand here. And I have an hourglass.
In the middle under your top.
Yeah. A giant hourglass instead of a giant clock on the tower of the bank.
we don't have clocks yet.
No, they have hourglasses. Giant ones. Right? And if the hourglass had a frame, I would use the outer square here, this outer rectangle, come through here, down here, and then I could make a piece of furniture out of that hourglass where it's sitting inside that rectangular frame. You know, which sometimes hourglasses did, antique ones. Okay, but anyway, back here, I want to draw an arch. So I draw two sides. And here, because it's facing us, I draw an actual circle. It's not an ellipse because it's not on its side. And then I just take the top half of the circle, and that becomes the archway that we're looking through in this picture. So that is the opening or the portal, the opening through it. So then on the other side, I'm going to put a tower, and I'm deliberately putting it off center here. Here's a tower coming up. Here's an ellipse at the top of it. There's a dome that sits in the ellipse. So there's the tower. Could have windows here. Could have a cupola, which is another little cylinder with a dome in the top of it. And then that comes down through the arch, so I want some overlapping and continuity. Then I would have a little roof here and a series of windows way back there and the floor level, which is down here. So now this is the sky, and because I offset that dome, it is a feeling of overlapping, and I could show some of the sky through this opening here. See? So I have the dome, a church, whatever you want to call it, back here. And way back here, if I want little people, they're going to be that big, just enough to hit the ground. A person out here is going to be this big. And she's going to have a kid with her who's going to be this big. And I'm going to have an adult male over here, could be female. Since that leg is back, this arm must be forward. And this arm is behind. Like that. So I could have some more people here, they could be a little closer, but essentially I've got Papa, Mama, Baby, like that, creating a triangle back in space. So a triangle in space is another compositional device, and I use that a lot when I put people into pictures. You know? Papa, Mama, Baby, back to this. So that's it. Now what I did up here was I constructed a shadow. So I did bowed balconies like this, balcony rails, like that. So I bowed them. And then I threw a shadow down from all of that, and I brought the shadow of the balcony and the handrail against that side wall. And that's what you see right here in this picture. So that's, and then I have, from this vanishing point, I have some pavers coming forward. Like that. And creating a floor. And I worked out some shadows and so forth with shading come across. Now, important thing is the way that the shading works in here. So what I did was I created a well of light, see, that comes down here into the picture, if you look here. So there's a sort of a diagonal well of light here, and this is all in shade with the light, with the shadow coming across and up this wall, up to the balcony. So that's completely deliberate planning where the light and lighter and darker shades are. And I will also discuss that with you. So, yeah, there's a bit to it, but essentially if I had to draw another village like that, it's the same stuff. You got balconies, you got floor level, you got, you got vanishing point, you have tilted planes, so it's over and over and over again, and you have ellipses that sit into rectangles. This is all completely, actually this